Welcome, everyone, to our annual Candidates Forum. We're pleased to see such a nice turnout, and we would like to thank everyone in advance for lending us their time and their expertise to provide information about their candidacy and their plans for Norwood citizens. In particular, I would like to thank our Voter Service Committee, led by Sarah Cullen, for all of their advance work to make this evening run smoothly for all of you. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization founded in 1920. The year the 19th Amendment was ratified and women won their battle for the right to vote. The League of Women Voters works to promote informed, active citizen participation in government, to influence public policy through education and advocacy, and to take positions on substantive issues after careful study, which may or may not be of legislative concern. The League's larger vision is a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate, as well as a belief in the power of women to create a more perfect democracy. The Norwood chapter of the League achieves our mission in different ways. We sponsor public forums each year on chosen topics of interest to provide residents with information and opportunities to meet with various officials to make their concerns and questions known. We sponsor voter registration drives, and of course tonight, Candidates Night, which for many years has been the centerpiece of our education platform. The League does not specifically endorse candidates for election, but we will provide information about candidates to help serve that piece of our mission regarding an educated and informed public. You can find detailed information about the candidates running for office and about the Norwood chapter of the League by following us on Facebook and Twitter at League of Women Voters Norwood, Mass, and on our website, our recently revamped website, which is still slightly under construction, but it's getting there, and it is up and running, at www.lwvnorwoodma.org. If anyone's interested in joining the League of Voters, please see any member here in the hall tonight or contact Tony Esco, our membership chair, directly. And her contact information is on our materials in the front hall. We are here for you because voting matters and your vote matters most of all. Our format this evening is similar to previous candidates' nights. For uncontested races, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. Each candidate will be asked a series of questions related to the office in alternating order. They will be asked the same questions in all cases with a minute to respond. Then each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement. For the contested races, the format's the same. However, the opening statement is 3 minutes and the closing statement is 2, also with a minute to answer each question. Candidates are not allowed to have a back and forth about the questions they are asked. If they wish to rebut an answer or elaborate after their time, they may take time from their closing statement to do so. At this time, I'd like to introduce our moderator for the evening. Debbie Winnick is the current Voter Service Chair and a past president of the Needham League of Women Voters. She's also a past member of the Massachusetts State Board, as a member of the Citizen Education Committee. Debbie is a trained League of Women Voters moderator and has moderated candidate forums for many local leagues. She's also a more than 25-year elected town meeting member in Needham. So please welcome Debbie Winnick.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be back in Norwood. Okay, we are going to ask for the candidates for planning board and moderator to come to the stage, please. There are 2 candidates for planning board, and tonight only one is here, Joseph Sheehan. He is running for a 5-year seat and is uncontested, and Robert Bamber is running for a 1-year seat and is also uncontested but couldn't be here tonight. And then David Hearn Jr. is moderator running for a 1-year seat, also uncontested. Thank you, gentlemen. Welcome. Okay, we'd like to start with opening statements again. Our candidates have 2 minutes for an opening statement. We'll start with Planning Board. Mr. Sheehan.
Thank you. My name is Joe Sheehan. I'm a member of the Planning Board. I've been on the board for over 17 years. I was in for 2 terms, 10 years, and then I was off for a period of time and came back, and I've been there the last 7 years. I've lived in Norwood for 38 years. We raised 2 daughters who had gone through the Norwood school system, and they seem to be doing quite well, so we have had great experience with the schools. I am originally from Boston, And I've always loved the fact that being here in Norwood, you feel so close to the local government. We have town meeting and we have citizen volunteers who take these kind of positions here, like planning board or moderator or any of the other positions that are open tonight and people are voting for. So I always, that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy being part of this, is to, you can be very, very close to what's going on in town and not feel alienated. And I've been the chairman the last year. I've been chairman a number of years, and I always felt that we need to listen to everyone who comes before us in hearings, and I hope we've done that, and I hope I've done that, and I hope to continue that. It's always helps us to make better decisions. We have a board that is made up of people from very different backgrounds, and we all seem to complement one another and come with different perspectives, and it helps us to make better decisions. And for that, I want to thank you. My time is up.
Your time is up. Thank you so much. Okay, here's your first question. There have been requests for changes in our zoning laws this year. Do you think current laws should be studied and revised? Do they discourage new business development in Norwood? Please explain.
Well, we have several coming up this spring. We have several zoning changes that we're looking at, and I don't believe they discourage development. I think they encourage development. I guess one that you might say could hinder development is one that we are going to be asking for a moratorium on auto storage lots. That seems to have been a problem for us. There seems to be a great deal of sprawl, and that's something we want to address. And what we want to do is sit down and have a workshop with some of the dealers and figure out a better way of doing that, finding places to park instead of just having sprawl everywhere. And that's probably one of the negatives, but on the positive side, we're doing the mixed-use overlay district. We're proposing for the central business district, and we want to have a little bit more density so that we can have mixed use, meaning more apartments above storefronts.
Okay, can you describe how the elected planning board works closely with appointed members of the Zoning Board, the Conservation Committee, and the new Community Preservation Act Committee?
I think that most of that has been, the coordination mostly has been through our professionals, meaning Paul Halkiotis and our assistant, Patrick DeShanes, who, since we've got Patrick, I feel like we've been able to move forward with a lot of things. As far as working together, I think that the town manager wants to organize them so that they are closer together in town hall and that there's more interaction amongst the board. But it's kind of a work in progress at this time.
Thank you. We're going to offer you a minute for closing.
Oh, thank you. I just want to thank you for having me. I'm glad to see all these folks who are interested in what's going on tonight. I'm unopposed, which is fine by me, but I just want to thank you for coming out tonight, but I do want to make sure and tell people at home that there is an election on April 1st, and everyone should come out, and I'm here to ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. On to your town moderator. A 2-minute opening, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening to everybody. My name is David Hearn. I'm running for re-election as town moderator. I want to thank the League for organizing this Candidates Night, as it does year after year. I, too, am unopposed for re-election this year, but I wanted to be here this evening to thank the folks who have elected me in the past to serve as moderator, and to answer any questions that might be posed, and finally to ask for your vote. the people here, or the people who may be watching this at home, on Monday, April 1st, which is the date of town election. As most people already know, the main job of town moderator is to preside over town meeting. It's a job that can be challenging at times, especially when there are hot topics that come up before town meeting. I try very hard to ensure that the town meeting is run in a fair way and in a way that people, both in the hall and watching at home, understand what's going on. And I try to give everybody who's interested in a matter the opportunity to speak. I want all views to be discussed and exposed, and ultimately the town meeting gets to vote with the most information possible. I'm always very grateful to the town meeting members who give of their time and their talents to help our town. Joe Sheehan just mentioned the idea of people who volunteer to do the different jobs, including the people in the room here who are running for different offices. It's one of the great hallmarks of our style of democracy that people volunteer to serve. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all the people who come out to vote year after year. If you're interested in town meeting or any office, run. There are openings in several of the districts, and you might even be able to run on a write-in basis, and you might even get in that way. Over the years, a lot of people have done that. Let me thank everyone once again who's here, the voters at home, the League, for this opportunity, and please remember to vote on April 1st.
Thank you. Well, you must have known this question was coming, because the question was originally going to be about how do you run for town meeting considering there are so many seats open, and you have just addressed that. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to ask a slightly different question, which is, what can a community do to encourage more people to run for town meeting? What can you as moderator do to encourage more people to run?
I'm not sure that as moderator I can do anything specific other than what I have done in the past, which is to encourage people who have expressed an interest in town meeting. I've had people correspond with me about that, call me up or send me emails, and I've tried to encourage them to go out, get signature papers signed. If they don't do that, to consider going for a write-in. I didn't really answer the question, just so you know, this is the same question every year, and I get the same answer every year, the cheat sheet that the League gave me before the meeting. But people do ask, how do you run as a write-in? And they've generally asked me, if you don't mind, Madam Moderator, to explain it. You can run, you can cast a write-in vote by writing a name in the space provided on the ballot. If you know the person's residence address, include that. If you make a mistake but the intent is clear, it will count. Write-in vote is valid if the intent of the voter is clear. So for those who are interested, go out and do it. It does work for some folks. Now back to how you encourage people. I just want to encourage people who are interested in our town to get involved, and town meeting is a great way to do it.
Thank you. Okay, you have a minute for closing. If you have anything in addition that you'd like to tell us.
I really don't have anything more to say other than, again, thank you. I know the time is tight tonight, and I'll waive the remaining time that I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And can we thank these two candidates? And can I ask for the candidates for Finance Commission and School Committee to come to the stage, please? While they're getting settled, we have, you have two candidates for Finance Commission. Two candidates are running for a 3-year seat. Anne Marie Haley could not be here tonight, and Alan Slater. And then one for a 2-year seat, which is Kelly Numi. Did I do okay with that? Thank you. School Committee, you have two candidates running for 3 years. Maev?
Yes.
Thank you, okay. Bodenhofer and Joan Giblin. We will start with opening statements from the Finance Commission candidate. Kelly, you're on that side, so we'll start with you, please. You have your one candidate for a 2-year seat, A 2-minute opening, please.
Thank you very much. I first want to just say thank you for everyone for attending today. It's really great to see so many people want to be active in the town and get to know people before the election and get to know what people stand for. So I think that's amazing. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And thank you to the League for organizing all this. I know it's quite an effort, so thank you so much for that. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Kelly Newmy. I'm running for a 2-year position on FinCom. I've been a resident of Norwood for about 5 years, and as a parent of 2 young children in the public school system, I'm really, really, really committed, and I care very deeply about the financial future of our town. Professionally, I have over 20 years of experience in large-scale projects and process management, and I'm responsible for leveraging technology to automate process and drive efficiencies in my current role. So what I'm really hoping to do is to take all those skills I have in my professional life and apply them to the position on FinCom to really find ways that our government can operate more efficiently, that we can run more efficiently as a town. We could find new and really creative out-of-the-box ways to generate revenue and to really make sure that we're not leaving any dollars on the table as a community. One of the things I've been most impressed with about Norwood is it's a really amazing town with such a rich history and legacy of public service and involvement. The pride that people show in this town is unlike anything I've ever seen. And it's really a testament to the community that's been built over generations. I really hope in this position what I would like to do is to protect that sense of community by preserving the world-class and first-class services that Norwood offers its town residents, while also making sure that we protect the people that we need to, like our seniors and especially our children. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I will turn it over to Alan.
Thank you. Alan Slater is running for a 3-year seat, and we have to share the microphone. So thank you for doing that. Your
Okay.
2-minute opening statement.
Okay, thank you. My name is Alan Slater. I'm a candidate for re-election to the Finance Commission. And again, I'd really like to thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this debate. It's always a great event every year, and they have a lot to be proud of. Now, Norwood is the envy of many towns due to our low taxes, a strong commercial tax base, and our excellent services. Even though our residential tax rate is low, it's funded to the maximum allowable under Proposition 2.5. Our bond rating is one of the highest in the state. A stabilization fund, a rainy day account, has been funded in the past, although realistically our bond rating agency believes our reserves should be higher than they are. On the other hand, costs are rising, and since Norwood is fully developed, additional tax revenue from new growth is limited. The school department is under increasing pressure to meet their responsibilities, including required state mandates, and this is why an operational override is being proposed. To solve our problems, I believe we should think outside the box in considering solutions and not limit ourselves to the old way of doing things. Some options include actively promote redevelopment of our underutilized commercial industrial spaces to generate new tax revenue. When practical, consolidate redundant operations from general government and the school department, particularly a new facilities management department. Limit future debt service to critical projects. Encourage change and innovation in the school department, and partner with the MSBA to construct a new Coakley Middle School. I'm committed to finding the proper balance between making the tough decisions and what's best for Norwood. If re-elected, I'll continue to insist on fiscal responsibility while maintaining our essential services. Thank you.
Thank you. So the first question to both candidates for the Finance Committee revolves around your upcoming Prop 2.5 override. You touched on it. Can you explain to the voters, you can't do this in a minute, what a Proposition 2.5 override is? More important, why Norwood residents will be voting on one this year? Alan, would you start with that, please?
Well, as you said, it's something which can't be done in a minute. Under state law, Proposition 2.5 was voted on, I believe, in 1980. And the long and the short of it is it limits the amount of money that a community can raise from taxation in a given year, essentially 2.5% more than what it raised in the previous year. Unfortunately, the inflation rate has been higher than that over the years. State aid, which was supposed to help the towns because they would be getting less tax revenue, was simply not kept up with the increase in costs either. And many of those costs are out of the control of communities, such as health costs, as an example. Our retirement costs have gone way up. So the purpose of the Proposition 2.5 override is to increase the tax levy and allow the community to generate more revenue through taxation. We've looked at this very carefully in the Budget Balancing Committee over the last year. We've looked at both general government and the school department. Quite frankly, there is a gap between where we should be in the budget and where we are, and we came up with a number of $5.95 million, which...
Thank you.
Okay.
It's tough. It's very tough.
I understand.
Kelly, I'm just going to change the question slightly and ask you, there's an audience member who wants to know, do you think that the number that was just mentioned is the right number for the override? Do you support the decision, and based on what data?
Absolutely. So I've been attending all the Budget Balancing Committee meetings for the past year. The Budget Balancing Committee has done a terrific job of working through a very difficult problem that has some hard decisions that need to be made because no one really wants their taxes to go up. I do agree with the number after a lot of the careful research that was done. Just for the general audience, the town of Norwood has one of the lowest tax rates in the entire eastern Massachusetts. Even with the override, our tax rate will be lower than the average tax rate for all of Massachusetts, not even inside the 495 belt. I do support the override for many reasons. I think we've benefited from, as Alan said, a large commercial tax base for a long time, and we've kind of rode that out. Costs are escalating much faster than 2.5%, which is what we can increase our tax levy at, and it's time that we need to bump up that levy. The key thing to note is that for some reason we don't need that money. We do not need to raise taxes to that amount. It just gives the town the option to do that should it be needed.
Thank you. Kelly, this is to you. We've been hearing so much about Norwood's free cash fund this year. Can you explain what it is? Why are we almost out of free cash? And if you can also include whether you support the use of free cash for balancing the budget.
Absolutely. So another question that can't be handled in a minute, but I will give it my best. Free cash is basically the difference in revenue between what you budget and what you spend. So it's basically like the savings that you get every year from what you budget, right? That money is supposed to be put aside for things like long-term debt projects. It helps sponsor our debt. It lowers the interest rate we get on debt, which keeps our need to raise our taxes lower, right? Free cash should not be used as a procedural way to balance a budget. It would be like if you were at home and you were constantly taking money out in a HELOC to meet your basic living expenses and pay your mortgage. That's not a really good financially solid way to do things. That money should be saved in reserve to, again, sponsor our debt or to fund long-term capital projects like the Coakley Middle School, like the high school. That's what that stuff should be used for. So no, I do not support the use of free cash to balance the budget.
Thank you. And Alan, the same question, please. Free cash.
The problem we had this year with free cash is that we made certain estimates when we were building the budget last year, and some of those estimates simply didn't come to pass. We had lower receipts than we expected in several departments, particularly the water department. So instead of having a free cash, as we usually do, of around $3.5 million every year, it was only $1.7 million, and that simply restricted us in the number of things that we should do. Norwood has used free cash in the past to buttress the budget. That's why we've had a structural deficit. Many communities do. I'd like to get away from that method of funding the budget in the future. I don't think that's the best way to do it. I'd rather spend free cash on other things such as one-time projects, such as equipment, rolling stock, things like that. But free cash in general, if I have any say to it in Norwood, would not be used in the future to balance the budget.
Thank you. Now we're going to do closing statements for our two Finance Commission candidates in reverse order. So Kelly, you're first, please. Oh, no, I'm sorry, you started. So Alan, you're first.
Okay. Thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank the League for organizing this debate. It's really a great way to learn about your candidates. I've had the privilege of serving in the Finance Commission since 2003 and have served in a number of other town committees, including those for the construction of a new Norwood High School and a new Public Works building. I recently retired as a civil environmental engineer. Although I was born in Boston and therefore by definition a carpetbagger, I've lived in Norwood for over 35 years, and my wife Jerry and I consider it home. Both my daughter Alexandra and my son Jacob are proud graduates of Norwood High School. Norwood's a great town. What's always impressed me is how the townspeople look after one another as if we're one big family. We're not without our problems, but together as a town we can solve them. Whether the problem is in general government or the school department, we solve the problem as a town. I look forward to serving Norwood as your Finance Commissioner for the next 3 years. I promise to keep an open mind and do what's best for the town. Therefore, I ask for your vote on Monday, April 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly, your closing statement, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. So I'd just like to say thank you again to everyone for attending and to the League for putting on the event. Thank you very much. I couldn't agree with Alan more. I mean, there's something really special about the community that we live in. I think Alan hit the nail on the head when he said that everyone really looks out for each other, and no matter what side of the position you're on, whatever comes up, people really here are trying to do the right thing, which is a really, really amazing thing. I'm hoping that I can be part of the rich tradition of public service that we've had in the town, and I can lend some of my skills and experience to help push the town forward, and also to help represent a group that I think is very underrepresented on the town boards and government. So I ask for your vote this coming election, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. On to our school committee candidates. We have 2 candidates for 3 years. Well, let's start with opening statements. Maev Bodenhofer.
Yes. Hoffer, yes.
Hoffer. Okay. Your opening statement is 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event and providing us this opportunity to discuss our ideas with you. My name is Maev Bodenhofer, and I've been honored to serve on the school committee for the past 3 years. I'm running for re-election. Looking back at the statement I made at this event 3 years ago, much of what I said then is still true today. The Norwood Public Schools are strong, but they are also facing challenges, including budget pressures and the changing needs of our students. I said then that I had grown increasingly frustrated as I had watched the budget process over the years. Cutting teachers or even announcing that teacher cuts are likely is very disruptive to our schools. We need to find a way to stop repeating this pattern. I wanted the school committee to be more proactive in planning for our schools. I stated that better communication with parents, teachers, and the rest of town government can only help. I honestly believe that we have made significant progress in these areas in the last 3 years. We have completed a long-range building study. The school administration has developed a 5-year strategic plan, and we have worked with the town-wide budget balancing committee to develop 5-year projections of revenues and expenses. We are currently facing another terrible budget year, but we have presented the town with an option to provide additional funding and a plan for how that money would be used to maintain and improve our schools. We continue our efforts to communicate effectively with all stakeholders, students, parents, teachers, community members, and other elected officials. Serving as a member of the school committee can be a challenging role, but I would like to serve for another term to continue the work that we have started.
Thank you. And Joan Giblin, 2-minute opening statement, please.
Hi, everybody. I want to thank the League as well and thank everybody for coming out. My name is Joan Giblin. I have a PhD from Old Dominion University, and I'm on the faculty at Northeastern as my full-time job in the Graduate School of Education. So to say that education is my business is literally true. Education is also in my blood. My mom was an elementary school teacher for 35 years, and I grew up, some of my first part-time jobs were working in her extended day program. I followed the family business, but instead of going to the K-12 role, I went into higher education, where I was an administrator for almost 20 years. And the main facets of my job there were helping students transition from high school into college, both academically and outside of the classroom, creating programs so that they could thrive and succeed in college. My latest job was at a STEM-based university in Boston, which also has a co-op program. So I've become very well adept at understanding what students need to succeed both in college and in the workforce. My priorities as a school member, as a school committee member, my priorities would be thoughtfully and responsibly to invest taxpayer dollars into the school system, to use data to drive our decision-making, to ensure transparency regarding budgets, make decisions with both the short and the long-term impact in mind, to make difficult decisions and not pass them on to the next generation, to provide the best education possible for all students to help them achieve their goals. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Our first question is no surprise. It's how will the school budget be affected if the Proposition 2.5 override does not pass? Mayev.
Just last week, the school committee finalized our budget based on the case if the override does not pass. If the override does not pass, all funding for athletics and extracurricular activities, including fine arts extracurricular activities, will be eliminated. That includes things like the National Honor Society and Student Council. In addition, we will close the Willett School. We will move all the kindergarten classrooms back to local schools, and we will eliminate 12.7 full-time equivalent positions.
Joan.
I
Do
agree.
you just want to respond to the concern about that the public has about the school budget if Proposition 2.5 doesn't pass?
I have also been attending school committee meetings. I agree with Maya. Those cuts have been stated publicly. You can look up the school committee meetings on NOR Community Media and see the discussion that took place around them. I believe the community should be concerned. This is, quite frankly, it appears to be unprecedented that a school system would essentially dismantle all middle school and high school extracurricular activities, from varsity sports down to freshman sports to fine arts clubs to drama clubs. So if there is concern in the community, I believe it is absolutely well-founded. The reason for this is because there has been no significant savings presented that I have seen that match the magnitude of the debt, of the problem. It was a $2.4 million, if I believe correctly, deficit that the school committee needed to fill. There's no simple way to do that other than closing a kindergarten and cutting all extracurricular programs and cutting teachers and cutting books and other things.
Thank you. The next question, if Norwood eliminates funding for all of the things that you just mentioned, would it affect accreditation? Joan.
That's an interesting question. Would it affect accreditation? It could. I do believe that it could affect accreditation. As to what the impact of affecting accreditation would be, that's somewhat mixed. And if you can go and look at past news accounts, there are school systems that are unaccredited. I'm not quite sure what the concern is behind the question around that accreditation piece, and I'm happy to talk to anybody afterwards around that. School systems do exist and are unaccredited, but it's not where you want to be. You don't want to have a school system that's unaccredited, because what that means is that you're not even not meeting best practice, you're not even meeting the bare minimum. And I don't think that's the type of town that we want to be, a town that can't even meet the bare minimum for our kids.
Thank you. Maya, the same question.
In the short term, it will not impact our accreditation. Whether it may over the long term is a different question, but it will absolutely have a massive impact on our kids and their engagement with the school, their engagement with the community. And Norwood takes great pride in things like our amazing musicals that are put on every September, and funding for that would be gone. Anything would have to be self-funded.
Thank you. We're going to ask you to give us your closing statement. It's 1 minute. Joan?
I know that we are pressed for time this evening. I want to thank you all for coming out. I hope that you all also come out and tell your friends and your neighbors and everybody to come out on April 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. Maya?
Thank you to everyone here in person and watching on TV. The fact that you are taking your time to listen to the candidates shows that you care about this town, and I do too. I firmly believe that we can find a way to provide stable funding so that the Norwood Public Schools can continue to deliver quality education to all the students in Norwood. Good schools are important not just to the students and their families, but to all members of this community. I know that working together as a town, we can maintain the wonderful, family-friendly atmosphere of Norwood. I would be honored to serve another term as a member of the Norwood School Committee, and I respectfully ask for your vote on April 1st.
Thank you. May we thank the candidates, please? Thank you. May I ask the 3 library trustee candidates to come to the stage? We are entering the second stage of our forum. These are your contested candidates. As a recap, there are 3 candidates for library trustee. 2 will be elected for 3 years. There are 3 candidates for housing authority. 1 will be elected for 1 year. And there are 3 candidates for the Board of Selectmen. 2 will be elected for 3 years. These are your library trustee candidates. We have our contested candidates have been offered a 3-minute opening statement. They'll have 1 minute to answer questions and 2 minutes to close. And we will ask the library trustees in alpha order: Donna Montgomery, Leah O'Leary, and Tina Taylor. So Donna, would you give us your opening statement, please?
Hi, I'm very glad to be here. My name is Donna Montgomery. I've been a resident of Norwood for over 30 years. I own a small business down in South Norwood, So Easy. I'm a successful business owner. I'm a town meeting member. I've had a library card since I was 5 years old. My mother was a librarian, my aunt was a librarian, and I had a job at the library when I was in high school. I really liked the library. I spend a lot of time at the library. And I want to run for this position.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Leah O'Leary.
I thought she had to do her other thing first. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
These are opening statements. You get 3 minutes, but you don't have to take 3 minutes.
Okay, all right.
And it is now your turn. Leah O'Leary.
Okay, so my name's Leah O'Leary, and I was born and raised in Norwood, and I hope you don't hold that against me. And my father was born and raised in Norwood, so my roots run deep. I hasten to add, I married a man from Cleveland, so the kids had some sense of the world. I want to thank my sisters of the League for putting on tonight. My background is as a social worker with over 20 years in the public sector, working with children and families, several years in education at the university level, and then 17 years ago, or 20 years ago, starting a nonprofit adoption agency located over Perk's Coffee Shop. The logo still spans 4 windows on the 2nd floor. No one ever looks up in Norwood because no one knew that it was there. So I just want to point that out as an interesting footnote to culture in Norwood. No one looks up. After this career in social work, I did retire about 1.5 years ago, went into semi-retirement. I do have a few side gigs. But I decided to re-engage the town. About 20 years ago, my husband and I were very involved in a town-wide organization following Columbine slaughter in Colorado, where all of the town leadership came together. And I think this is a good time, it was a good experience, and I think this is a good time to think about the town coming together to fight for our traditions. And you know, the library being such a core service in this town. I guess that's enough for, that's enough.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
did more than.
Okay, Tina, would you like to give us your 3 minutes, please?
Good evening, Tina Taylor, District 8, lifelong resident of the town. 3 children who frequent the library and utilize all it has to offer. I love the library. It's one of the few historic buildings that we have left in town, aside from the town hall and a few others. So I look forward to working with the board, together as a collaborative, to keep it growing in a positive direction and keep offering the programs that we have now, along with some new ones. So while I was soliciting for signatures, I noticed that a lot of people came from surrounding towns, which says that we're doing something right. So I want to keep that going. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start with our first question. We're going to rotate a little bit. We're going to start, the first question is to Leah, and the same question will be addressed to each of the 3 candidates. Here's your first question. What do you see as the library's primary role in the community?
It's hard to pick one role because it has so many roles. It's a holder of traditions and town history. Clearly, there are a lot of books there, and so it is a source of learning. The workshops and the events that are held in the Simone Room are just fabulous. So the role that the library plays in our education of young people. So there are a lot of roles, but it's definitely part of the moral library is core to Norwood, I think. It's just so important in this town.
Thank you. Tina, the same question. What do you see as the primary role of the library?
Sets policy. The primary role of the board is to set policy and oversee operations on behalf of the library at the town, state, and federal level.
Thank you. Okay, Donna?
Well, I see the primary role of the library as more of an educational place, tying in with what the schools do and adult education and just people who want to learn things and do research. When my mother was a librarian, she also, you know, on her own time, tutored the kids that had troubles with English, and there were a bunch of things that they did at the library where she worked, and we do some of those things at this library too, and I think those things are important to keep education moving and keep people involved in the civic life. And 30 seconds.
In 30
Thank you.
seconds. The role of the library in 30 seconds. All right, our next question for all 3 candidates. Tina, you'll answer this one first, please. In your view, what are some of the library's unmet needs?
Unmet needs.
Unmet needs.
I can't think of any unmet needs. I think the library is doing a terrific job and has always done a terrific job to meet the needs of the community as a whole. I don't see that anything is lacking.
Okay, thank you.
I can't think of any.
Wait. Donna's next. What do you see as the library's unmet needs?
Although I think Tina is pretty much correct that we do a lot of the things, I do think that there's a really big need for more help with the people who speak other languages. We do have some books in the library and some movies and things that are in other languages, and we do tutoring to learn English language. But I think that a good number of the people don't receive the outreach. I think that's true throughout the town. Tony Mizuko has made an effort to put things in 3 languages, but I think that we need to do more things like that at the Norwood Library, just expand the whole immigrant thing. That's where we came from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now Leah.
In terms of unmet needs, I agree, I can't think of any major unmet needs, but I am going to be starting ESL training tutoring, so I'm going to be trying to address some of the issues you mentioned. I'll be in the library a lot as an ESL teacher, but I can't think of any major.
That's fine. The last question for this group is, starting with Donna, what can you do to be an effective advocate for the library at local, state, and federal levels?
Well, I can attend the events, but Leah and I were discussing the fact that we did find a lack of information about things that the library trustees did. We know that they oversee the library and the personnel and the selection, but reading the minutes, we found them to be perfunctory. You know, there's things that the library trustees themselves know, but we as first-time candidates are not aware of. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, Leah.
I agree.
Okay, Tina.
Could you repeat the question?
What can you do to be an effective advocate for the library at local, state, and federal levels? What would you do if elected?
To work as part of the collaborative on behalf of the library.
How's the sound out there? Can you hear? Can you speak into the microphone? You're sitting a little far back.
To work as part of the collaborative on behalf of the library.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go to closing statements in reverse order. We will do it Tina first, Leah second, and Donna third, and it's a 2-minute closing statement.
Well, thank you all for being here, and I appreciate the time. And please vote on April 1st. Good evening.
Thank you. Okay. Leah, your closing statement, please.
I know that everyone knows that the town is experiencing some financial difficulties, so I think it's really important for all of us to come out and vote in favor of the override. You know, in terms of if you're concerned about the library, you could probably, and people have talked about the cuts that will happen in education in this town if it doesn't pass. I'm sure there will be cuts in library services, whether it be cut back in hours or days or staff layoffs. So I really urge, the override is so essential to programs like the library. I also want to mention that I'm on the Cultural Council, and I think it might be, I would be interested to see if there's ways that there could be collaboration between the Cultural Council and the library, because there's so much programming in the library, and I'm sure some of it is supported by grants from the Cultural Council. And I am running for a town meeting. Again, I am rolling up my sleeves and putting participation in Norwood Government Affairs Services as the thing I'm focusing on in this stage of my life. And I look forward to seeing you at town meeting because I'm definitely going to get it because there's only 8 candidates for this slot. So I'll see you there.
All right, so uncontested for town meeting and contested for the library. All right, our final candidate, closing statements, Donna Montgomery, please.
Speaking of contested, I was really happy to see that there were 3 contestants for 2 seats. It's really good to see participation in things and not always uncontested
Oh, I don't
contest.
appreciate it.
And I want to thank everyone that came, and I really appreciate the opportunity to run for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, candidates. May I ask the Housing Authority candidates to come to the stage? There are 3 candidates for Housing Authority. You will be electing 1 candidate for a 1-year term. William Breen, Lisa Dufresne, and Jennifer Polito. Is it handicapped accessible? Thank you. So as I mentioned, you've got 3 candidates in alphabetical order. We will start with opening statements, 3 minutes per candidate. William Breen, please.
Thank you. William Breen for a position for the Housing Authority Board. And I wasn't sure what I was going to say tonight, but possibly the Holy Spirit will speak through me. I'd like to thank the League of Women's Voters for letting me speak here tonight, and also the NCMTV for its residents in Norwood. And also I acknowledge the Library Trustee candidates, the Housing Authority Board candidates, and the Board of Selectmen candidates. Also the names on these left and right of these walls, all the names on your left and right, you see the names on the walls all the time. All right, well, quickly, excuse me. The reason why I'm a candidate, I would like to get involved. I was a Babe Ruth coach and a volunteer football coach at Norwood High. I received a Cold War certificate last year. The Cold War is over, now it's the ISIS fighters. Also, I was a Triple Crown winner at the Veterans Hospital, volunteer, employee, patient, never in the military, but volunteers get free care on duty. I've sold about 120 paintings, not a lucrative career, but a career just the same. I've written 2 books. My first book, Buy Bill, I hope to 1 million, billion, zillion chance for a lifetime be made into a movie. I will be part-time writing and painting as your board member, and I will also be available during the day. To tell you the truth, I think this is a terrific job. I monitor the meetings. I don't see these other candidates at the meetings. I go to the meetings. I don't see them there. I don't know why. And also, I think it's just a tremendous job. I've been at the meetings, you work with figures, numbers all the time, and math, and I'll always love the math. And I studied engineering at university, but I hope for the folks with the Housing Authority have safe, sanitary, affordable housing. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, William. Bill? Bill. Lisa, can we have your 3-minute opening statement, please? And you might want to pull that, there you go, pull it a little closer. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Lisa Dufresne, and I live in Norwood Housing. I've been there for 2 years. I love it, and there's always room for improvement. This is the first time I've ever been involved with anything like this, and I'm almost 62 years old, and it's time to do something. So I hope you will vote for me, and we could get more housing in. I feel we need more housing. The homeless situation is getting out of control. And that's it.
Thank you very much. And Jennifer, please.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the League of Women's Voters for this opportunity to speak to you as a fellow resident of Norwood. This forum is so important and is a real part of local government, especially here in Massachusetts. I want to thank my fellow local candidates for their interest in the position on the Norwood Housing Authority as well. As someone who works with Housing Authority board members from all over the Commonwealth, I know the commitment that it takes to seek a position like this. A couple of weeks ago, I announced my candidacy for the Norwood Housing Authority Board. If elected, I would bring over 20 years of experience in public housing sector to this position. The Norwood Housing Authority commissioners and staff do a tremendous job serving our families, seniors, and persons with disabilities. The housing portfolio in Norwood is maintained in very good condition, even though buildings are anywhere from 38 to 68 years old. The challenge of keeping these properties in good condition will always be an important function of the Norwood Housing Authority. As a commissioner, I would work to protect the portfolio through advocating with Representative Rogers and Senator Rush to bring in additional funding if possible. I believe that with my knowledge and experience in the field and exposure to state officials over the last 13 years at Massachusetts Narrow, my current position, I would be a significant asset to the board. I'm a proud homeowner in Norwood. Prior to moving to Norwood, I served as an elected Dedham Town Meeting member for 4 years and a member of the Dedham Council on Aging for 2. I participated on Meals on Wheels through the Rotary Club and volunteered with other civic organizations. I even danced in Dancing with the Dedham Stars about 10 years ago and won the popular vote. My interest in public housing began when I was in high school. I was hired as an administrative assistant at the Dedham Housing Authority and worked there while pursuing my Bachelor's of Science degree at Curry College. After college, I worked full-time at the Housing Authority for several years before embarking on my current career at Massachusetts Narrow. Mass Narrow is the statewide membership association of local housing authorities, community development agencies, and housing and redevelopment officials. Its purpose is the development advocate for the provision and preservation of adequate and affordable housing for seniors, families, and disabled persons with low and moderate incomes, and to enhance the professional development and effectiveness of local professionals. I am proud of the town of Norwood and for all that it does for its residents, and I'm proud to call it home. I am pleased of the work that has been done by the Norwood Housing Authority and recognize there are new challenges to address. My experience in public housing, coupled with the ability to work with others to address issues and solve problems, would make me a great addition and positive contributing member of the Norwood Housing Authority Board. Thank you for being here tonight, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Okay, the first question, in this order, please. Lisa, Jennifer, and Bill. Here's the question. What can you do, if elected, to improve living conditions and housing around town? It's actually a double question, a duplicate, not a duplicate, a two-part. Do you have any ideas on how to possibly use CPA funds to improve housing? Two-part. Improving conditions, and could CPA funds be used? Lisa.
I honestly cannot, I don't know about the CPA, so I can't answer that. But this is my first time doing something like this. And can I just pass the question?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jennifer, our two-part question, please.
So I think there's always room for using CPA funds. There's other technologies as well for funding. I think that currently our housing is in good shape, but I think advocating for more funding is the biggest thing that we really need to do. It's pretty easy to do as far as just speaking with our local representatives and legislators and being sure that we're getting our word out there to be using our money in the right ways, and especially with the CPA funds, speaking with people and seeing that they can offer them to us.
Thank you. Bill, the same question, please.
Well, with keeping the housing in top condition, I talk to the maintenance workers, get their opinions, their word-of-mouth ideas of what to do with the housing, top things, anything ideas for improving everything. And the maintenance people, they know what's going on. They've been around for a while. And you look at those people, the maintenance people, with the snow thing, they're in 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock in the morning, they're there shoveling. So they're in charge of keeping everybody clean, keep all the housing authority in top-notch condition and everything, help the sanitary, safe, affordable housing. But I think the maintenance people, they do a tremendous job. I can see these people at 3 o'clock in the morning shoveling these streets. And that is my opinion, how we keep the housing authority in good condition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next question is, in the following order, Jennifer, Bill, and then Lisa. If more seniors sell their properties, is Norwood ready to meet an increase in demand for senior housing? And if not, what can be done to meet the possible demand?
So I think currently in just the state of Massachusetts, there's an influx of need and not as much housing as we would like. And I think homelessness throughout is becoming a large problem, and our waiting lists are really, really long at the current time. There's a statewide waiting list that's currently in the works, and so I think that will be somewhat helpful, but I don't know that we have enough housing for everyone, which is why I think if we could possibly use other sources of low-income tax credits and things of that nature to help with bringing in more housing for our seniors, it would be much more helpful.
Thank you. Bill, the same question, senior housing.
My opinion on that is, back in 2012, the sequester came in, and people on Section 8 housing, it used to be a 2-year wait, now it's over 10-year wait. So there's definitely the Section 8 housing, the sequester back in 2012 did that, all cut in the fundings and everything. The senior housing and everything like that, I think there were about 150, 160 people on the Section 8 list, the 160 people waiting for Section 8 vouchers. So they're not the senior housing, but they're housing that looking for housing down the road. But the senior housing, the developments we have, the one down in, what's the one down by, heading towards Dedham there? Oh, no, McGuire down there, yeah, McGuire, down by Dedham, yeah. So I mean, where will we build the housing? I think there's a plot of land down South Norwood, right across this, a little bit up the way from the Galooly flat, not the Galooly, the Cross Farm, with the Cross Funeral Parlor. There's a plot of land there right next to the, okay, excuse me, if you would, there's a plot of land that we could.
The stop sign is up. Thank you very much. Lisa, the same question about senior housing.
Yes, I was on the list and I ended up homeless. And we have to have transitional housing and more senior housing in the town. I don't know how we can do it, but we have to.
Okay, and the last question is, you all spoke to the current condition of Norwood's public housing earlier in your opening statements. And the question is, do you see things that need to be done and how can they be addressed? Bill, you're first, then Lisa,
Repeat that
then
question
Jennifer.
again, please. Repeat that question.
Well, you all spoke about the current condition of Norwood's public housing. So the question is, are there needs in the housing that you think need to be addressed? And if so, what are they?
The need to be addressed in the housing. Geez, that's a tough question. It's a curveball. That was a curveball there, yeah. Probably, well, just give an example, like parking spaces. If someone was a tenant and they were, the issues came up in the board that someone wanted a parking space, and everybody would have their input in there and everything, and the tenants would have their input. I'm a little bit off here now. I don't know what I'm not sure exactly what they do. The only thing you could do is try to have the maintenance people, top-notch maintenance people to just to work on the housing better. Plowing, shoveling, cutting the lawn, all that stuff, yeah. That's the only way I can think of is the maintenance people, the top-notch maintenance people to upgrade all the housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lisa, do you see needs that need to be addressed within housing?
Except for the lack of more housing, no, I'm very happy in my home and my community. And that's it.
Thank you. Jennifer?
I think one of the big problems that I think we face is the age between 50 to 65. Some of those individuals that are unable to get housing for one reason or another, if their children are grown and if they've lost a spouse, but they don't really meet the elderly quote yet. So I think maybe looking into resources that maybe we can get them some types of programs into housing, not necessarily state public housing or federal public housing, but even just I know that some developments going up, but they're still high rents. So looking to help them, because I think that's definitely, that generation is a generation that I think finds it to be the most difficult to get their housing.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go to closing statements. Okay, and in reverse order. So they're 2-minute closing statements. Jennifer, Lisa, and Bill. Jennifer, your turn.
In closing, I would once again like to thank the Norwood League of Women Voters for allowing me this opportunity and my fellow candidates for sharing the stage. Thanks to you, the voters, for being here tonight or watching on television. What I hope that you take away from our discussion tonight is that I have a proven ability to collaborate with government officials at the town, state, and federal level. I also will work to develop solutions and analyze information objectively, which will be an asset to the Housing Authority Board. I believe that my over 20 years of experience in public housing demonstrates I am truly passionate about our families, elderly, and persons with disabilities. I will thoughtfully advocate for funding that is most needed in this crucial time, while at the same time setting policies and procedures into place so that the Norwood Housing Authority staff is able to provide decent, safe, and sanitary housing to our most in need, even with the diminished funding from the federal and state governments. I would like to end with a program that I'm involved with on the national level entitled What Home Means to Me. Children from public housing authorities nationwide submit posters on what they think their home means to them. Viewing these posters is something I look forward to year after year, and knowing that we have served, knowing who we have served allows comfort, the feeling of being safe, but most of all, knowing that they have a home. This is why I believe that our public housing system works, and that we together can do important things for our Norwood residents. I would like to ask you for your vote on April 1st. Jennifer Polito for the Norwood Housing Authority Board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lisa, 2 minutes to close.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming, and it's so important to vote, and you're very well educated. I'm just a tenant, and I assume you're just a tenant, Bill, also. And it's our homes, and we want them to be the best that they can be. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. And Bill?
Well, she took the cat out of the hot box, whatever they call it. I'm a tenant also, as I said, but on one hand, I'm a tenant. On the other hand, I could be a board member. And the tenants, I've talked to Quincy and Waltham Housing Authority boards, and the perspective of a tenant, talking to other tenants and give firsthand knowledge, firsthand experience what's going on, change policies during the meetings and all that, firsthand experience. And I've talked to some of the selectmen, select women and select men about the conflict, and they have not posed any negative or opposition towards my candidacy. And I did have a speech tonight, one hand, a speech for the conflict if it was brought up, which Miss Lisa did, and a speech also for the conflict if it wasn't brought up. But I did monitor one meeting a little while ago. I'd just like to say this, it was very touching. I did monitor one meeting a little while ago, and we got housing for a homeless family. And, I would just like to be a member of that board that contributes like that to the community. Thank you. And I hope for your vote on April 1st. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all 3 candidates. May I ask that the 3 Board of Selectmen candidates come to the stage? Thank you.
It's Denise's name?
I'm Debbie. Nice to meet you.
Okay, as our candidates get settled, let me just tell you again, there are 3 candidates for your Board of Selectmen. 2 will be elected for 3 years. Your candidates are Helen Abdallah Donahue, Thomas Maloney, and David Hajar. Great. Okay, we are going to ask them to give us their 3-minute opening statements in ballot order, which means incumbents are on the ballot first and in alphabetical order. So the ballot order is Helen Donahue, then Thomas Maloney, and then David Hajar. So Helen, your opening statement, please.
Good evening. I'm Helen Abdallah Donahue. It's a pleasure to be here tonight with you at the League of Women Voters Candidate Night. The League of Women Voters have been conducting this Candidates Night for more than 50 years. It's a forum which provides the voters of Norwood the opportunity to hear what the candidates have to say. Before we had cable TV, this was the main forum for voter education. I can't let the evening go by without remembering Bettina Cottrell. Bettina Cottrell was one of the founding members of the Norwood League of Women Voters. She was also the founder of the Town of Norwood Conservation Commission. And that's pretty impressive. So the League, all year long, it's not just the candidates forum, the League studies particular issues that have to do with the quality of life in our town. They care. The League cares about conservation. The League cares about voters' rights. The League cares about people who take the bus from Boston and walk down Dean Street and Moore Street to get to their work on Route 1. So this is all a part of what we have here in our town. The League is a perfect example of why Norwood is such a special town. The town consists of the people. Norwood is special because it seems that the people in Norwood are caring people. They care about each other. The people in Norwood take care of each other, whether it's through the League, whether it's through town government, whether it's through the police department or the fire department, whether it's in the school department, whether or not it's in the churches, whether or not it's in the private clubs like the Rotary Club, the Scholarship Foundation, and the Circle of Hope. We care for each other here. We care for the people who come to Norwood. We care for the people who are here in Norwood. We care for the people who leave and then come back. We're even in the book of records about people who come back and people who stay. So why am I running for selectman again? Because I really care. And I think the people of Norwood know that. I care about people who are quiet. I care about people who are on their own. I care about young people. I was a school teacher. I care about seniors. I'm a senior myself.
Thank you.
And I'm here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
3 minutes. Thank you very much. Okay, Thomas, 3 minutes, please.
Thank you, Debbie, and good evening to everyone, and thank you to the League for sponsoring this event. It's, as always, done with superb organization, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all. My name is Tom Maloney. I am currently the chairman of the Norwood Board of Selectmen. I live at 28 Geraldine Drive with my wife, Kathy, and my children, John, a graduate of St. Catherine's, Norwood High School, and UMass Amherst, and Laura, a sophomore at Norwood High School. I hail from 2 towns north of here, Watertown and Arlington. My late father was a retired captain from the Watertown Fire Department and was a member of Firefighters Local 1347. My mother was a nurse who found time to raise 5 children. For the past 16 years, I've worked as a loan officer at the Bank of Canton. I served on the Norwood Finance Commission for 6 years before becoming a selectman and learned a lot, believe me, and I was very impressed with the presentations by the 2 candidates for Finance Commission tonight. I serve on the Budget Balancing Committee, and I have chaired the Capital Outlay Committee for 7 years. I have served on town meeting once upon a time from District 7 and currently from District 4. In youth sports and activities, I have been a Cub Scout leader in Pac 49 at St. Catherine's School, and I coached basketball there as well for 11 years. I've coached in Norwood Little League, Norwood Youth Softball, and the Norwood Basketball Association, our NBA. As your selectman, I've been deeply involved in matters of great importance to the town, such as the fending off of a 40B housing project at Forbes Hill, the recruitment and hiring of our new general manager, Mr. Mizuko, and the crafting of a TIF agreement with Moderna Therapeutics. If elected to a second term, I pledge to continue working to encourage redevelopment through intelligent zoning changes, to planning wisely for future capital improvements, to providing our public safety departments with the tools and resources they need to do their jobs effectively, and to establishing long-term budget stability that will allow us to maintain our current level of services in the town and provide our school system with the resources it needs to excel. Finally, if re-elected, I promise to serve as an independent voice who will represent all the people of Norwood. I am not and will not be beholden to any single group, faction, or interest. Foremost in my mind will be the concerns of the people who fund the services that our town government provides, the taxpayers. My name is Tom Maloney, and I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And David, your 3 minutes, please.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for holding tonight's forum. I hope everyone watching and listening hears what they need to hear in order to make an informed decision for the benefit of the entire community going forward. Voters have 3 candidates for 2 positions for a board that oversees the executive operation and the future direction of this great town. Based on my background of private and public experiences, leadership, commitment, and accomplishments, and being a 50-year carpetbagger myself, I feel qualified to fill one of these seats. In my 32-year career with Verizon, I held several key leadership positions that oversaw budgeting, staffing, construction, and strategic facility planning across the United States. This included their annual real estate budget of $1.2 billion in expenses and $330 million in capital. I've been on the town's personnel board for 13 years, including 7 as chairman, leading a diverse and great board of 5 by working as a team and producing HR policies and procedures that were forward-looking. I've been an engaged town meeting member for many years and have attended every single meeting. For the past 2 years, I've been on the town's Finance Commission. During this time, I've been actively involved with the development of new and updated town financial policies that will guide us into the future, led the audit of the town's Recreation Department budget with Director Farley in successfully reducing taxpayer funding from 64% to 47% without loss of service. Became chairman of the town's Facility Management Committee, whose charge is to document a plan that will consolidate the management of all town facilities, general government, and schools under one department. This will allow the town to standardize and streamline operations, proactively look at building issues, and put Norwood in a better position to manage millions and millions of dollars in assets. I serve on the town's Capital Outlay Committee, whose charge is not just to recommend projects to be completed each year, but to develop and annually update a 5-year plan of projects and their proposed funding so that we can plan our future financial requirements. I am the first chairman and president of Impact Norwood, a community approach to promoting a drug-free and healthy Norwood through awareness, education, prevention, and action. I was president of 2 successful West Roxbury nonprofit corporations that dealt with senior housing. I will use my diverse experiences to find different and innovative solutions in dealing with issues facing Norwood. I have raised revenue-generating ideas for discussion purposes and proposed a plan to deal with high-cost equipment annually that will not hit our loan borrowing each with lump sum amounts that affect other town capital needs. I pledge to be available to you, will listen to your concerns, and work for you in order to keep Norwood the wonderful place we all call home. I believe we need, and you will get from me, engaged leadership, future planning, openness, and transparency. Leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. To make this happen, I will need your vote on April 1st. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the first question, again, to all three candidates in the following order: Tom, David, and Helen. Here's your question. The proposed fiscal 20 budget includes no substantial cuts for the general government, but significant cuts for the schools. Do you believe this allocation of resources is in the best interest of the town? Why or why not?
Well, actually, if you take the annual town meeting appropriation from last year and compare it to the proposed budget for the current year, general government is down by about 0.3%. On the school side, the decrease is greater, but that's in part because the school budget was supplemented more with free cash going into the year last year than the general government side was. One thing that I think is kind of important here, if we do want to adopt the principle and accept the principle of one Norwood, I think it's important to remember if we're going to be one town, we're looking at one great big budget that has to be apportioned intelligently. It's not general government versus school system, it's general government and school system, and we've got to do what we can to make sure that our resources are spent as wisely and as prudently and as effectively as they can be across the board. Thank you.
Thank you. David, the same question, please.
Sure, and to piggyback on what Tom said, because I think this is not a 1 or 2 year issue that's been going on. This is a multi-year issue. We have structural deficits, and namely the schools have had a tougher time because the cost associated with special education has really harmed their budget capabilities going forward. It's a higher increase than 2.5%. And we as a community have been using free cash to prepay the school's budget that has helped them maintain within their 55% allotment. Unfortunately, this year we have not been able to do that. So they're stuck with not only not getting subsidized, but being hit with these increases. So the larger deficit looks bigger than it has in the past, but it really isn't if you look at the total amount spent on their budget the last couple of years. But do I think it needs to be changed? I think it's one of the issues that we have to look forward to. I do believe that we are one town, and that's where we should be looking at matters.
Thank you. And Helen, the same question, please.
I think that particularly this past year, that general government and schools have tried to work together more over the past couple of years, but really particularly this year. And I see that it started about different things, like in the capital outlay budget, all of the requests from the school department were supported entirely at the capital outlay committee, which Chairman Maloney is the chairman of that committee. And these ways, we'll share costs, we'll cut more grass, we'll take care of more ice and snow, whatever we have to do to help the schools, we'll work together and try to do that.
Thank you. Okay, the next question in the following order. First David, then Helen, then Tom. Here you go. There's been much discussion this past year about combining all the facilities in Norwood, including the school buildings, under one management. Can you give us your view of this project? Will it save money for Norwood?
First, as the chairman of the Townwide Facilities Committee, I am involved and have been involved since last June. And do I think it will save money long term? Absolutely. If we go through with this, and I think we should as one town, this was brought up like 10 years ago, and we were at the leading edge of doing this, making this move. And unfortunately, we weren't able to cross the line with going through with the program. And here we are 10 years later, and now we're behind the 8 ball. Most towns have done this because they've seen the benefits. If incorporated into one department, it will be the 3rd largest budget with over $20 million in assets. Of course, there will be savings. There will be abilities because of standardization on bidding, on construction. There will be really some long-term savings that will be generated that will help both the schools and the town. So I believe we should do it.
Thank you. Same question to you, Helen.
Thank you. This is an excellent idea. This is an idea that we should grab and seize. It started with Mr. McDonough years ago in the school department. He created a list of priorities and needs in the repair of school buildings. He started the concept. Mr. Riccardi has picked up on it. He would do an excellent job as the caretaker for all of the buildings in town. The one little difference that I have is I don't want to create a huge department. I can see having a general facilities manager and an assistant, but I think we should rely more on the existing staff that we have.
Thank you. And Tom, the same question, please.
Thank you, Debbie. It's funny, I actually came to this idea kind of late. For a long time, I thought it was a solution in search of a problem. But over time, having worked on the committee itself and chairing the committee for a while too, I've come to think it's a very good idea to have a combined facilities department, such as Wellesley has and Franklin has, and some of the other towns, bigger and smaller than Norwood, have done over the years. The reasons, of course, as David and Helen have stated, are pretty clear. In time, you do achieve efficiencies. You do achieve standardization, and I think overall you do a better job of managing and assessing your assets continuously through the years. So I'm in favor of it. I think, however, one caveat, I do think the school committee and the school department has to be on board with it for it to happen. Not sure that they're there yet, that perhaps they will be in time, but until then, it will remain a dream deferred. I am confident, however, that its time will come. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question in this order, please. Helen, Tom, and then David. And here's your question. What are your priorities should you win a seat on the Board of Selectmen?
I think that the priority is always the budget. We have to really work on ways to keep our cost of living in Norwood safe for people of all ages, for people of all incomes, for people who work in the kitchens and the restaurants earning $12 an hour, to the people that work in the universities making, 75, I don't know how much money an hour. So that's, to me, the key.
Thank you. And Tom, what are your priorities should you win a seat?
Well, from the general government side, there are a number of things I'd like to see get done in the next 3 years in my second term. We do have a couple of zoning initiatives coming forward to the special town meeting in 60 days, I guess, or 45 days. One of which is called the Mixed Use Overlay District here that will, we hope anyway, lay the groundwork for the revitalization of the downtown, the central business district here, and in particular the central corridor. But we have a great downtown. If you're traveling around in all these other towns, I work in Canton, it's just one street. Dedham, it's two streets, one terminates in the other, and they call that a downtown. Norwood actually has a grid system and a beautiful downtown that looks like a downtown. I think it needs some TLC, and I think the owners of the properties need the opportunity to invest in them, to redevelop internally, and to create a more vibrant, exciting, and a value-rich downtown business district. That's one of them. I see the 30-second sign-on, so we'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And David, what would be your priority if elected?
My three basic priorities are engage leadership, and what I mean by that is being active in all the things that are being brought up in town, not just picking the one or two that I feel comfortable with. I think by electing a Board of Select member, you want us to partake and get heavily involved in as many issues as we can, so that the best decisions are made by hearing everything from all different parts of the town of Norwood, and then deciding the best way to move forward. My second is future planning, and Tom touched on a little bit, the zoning plan. To me, it's what do we want to be in 10, 15, or 5, 10, 15 years. And to me, that's, getting groups of people, go visit the neighborhoods, talk to them about what's going on, and get their feedback and develop an overall plan. And the third one is openness and transparency. I think we need to open up some of the discussions better and listening to more people. We're not a vacuum. I know we're elected and people like to call, but I think we need to actively go out and get feedback and be open about the information that we're getting, where we're getting it from, and how we're making these decisions.
Thank you very much. The next question in this order, Tom, David, and then Helen. The next question is, actually there were two questions that were submitted about affordable housing. How do you propose to work with the planning board to create more affordable housing to attract young professionals and families to town? Do you see it as a priority?
Well, the housing stock in the town has actually been increasing at a pretty rapid rate in the last 5 years anyway. And there's a difference between talking about affordable housing and a 40B project, which is forced on the town. I think basically what you do is you lay the groundwork for developers who see a profitable opportunity to come in and develop housing for you. I think that's really what the best thing that any government can do is lay the groundwork for success in the private sector. We do have a couple of things coming online though. Avalon Bay with 198 units will be coming in soon, and the old Regal Press building is probably a year beyond that. But in the next 18 months, you're going to see 240 units in that one little intersection come into being. So, I mean, it's little by little, it's incremental, and it's got to be intelligently done. But I think we're going to get there. Thank you.
Thank you. And David, the same question, please.
We need to understand the distinction between 40B and versus affordable housing. I'm definitely in favor of affordable housing so that we can attract the younger folks. But Norwood does not have a shortage of, excuse me, does not have a shortage of apartments. Between Avalon Bay and the Plimpton, it's well over 250 units that are coming online. They're local to the transportation. They're going to be perfect for young professionals as well as young families that want to come in and take advantage of our beautiful town as well as easy transportation. I personally don't think that there's a huge problem with that. I do think that we should continue to work with the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals on the best ways to generate additional development through regulation.
You're still okay if you want to finish. You okay?
I'm good.
Okay. Thank you. Helen, the same question. Question of affordable housing and priorities, working with the planning board.
Thank you. I think that we have to try and slow down on housing. I think that we've all been through a lot lately that's had a great effect on the town. All of the developments that have been proposed and all of the harshness it created in neighborhoods. I think that we should just concentrate on more positive. If we need housing, if there's, 30 seconds. If we need more housing in Norwood, what we really need is housing for people over 55. Because people are selling their houses and they want to stay in Norwood. And if we could, and the over 55 housing is not being built. And earlier we heard from the candidates from the Housing Authority. We need senior citizen housing too. But I think that that's, if anything, that's where our concentration should be.
Thank you. Okay, here's the next question. Norwood is one of only 2 towns with municipal power companies that combine the light board and selectmen. What are the disadvantages or advantages of the light board and the selectmen being one and the same? In this order, please. David, Helen, and Tom.
Well, for years, Norwood has had it combined under the Board of Selectmen. I personally favor that because I believe there's better control. The Board of Selectmen is elected, and they can have direct control over it by receiving feedback from the voters and residents going forward. I think they can also, because of their positions, have tighter control over the expenses that are going on over there. The disadvantages is that it does become difficult for them to avoid, I presume, some conflicts of interest because it's their bill that they're also voting on. But I have not seen too many issues over the years raised because we have it all under one.
Thank you. Helen.
Thank you. The Board of Selectmen is very qualified to serve as the elected commissioners as well, and it's for all the reasons that Mr. Hajar said. We have the knowledge of the entities, both entities. We have the knowledge of the finances. We have the knowledge of what the taxpayers are looking for. And to date, we have the finest light department around, and there have been no issues that have come up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Tom?
Well, actually, I agree with my two colleagues up here. First of all, I think we do have an excellent light department. I'm not blowing smoke about that. If the lights go out, they come on pretty fast. So that's usually a good thing. When there's a terrible storm, you get the lights back on really quickly. I think we have dedicated professionals leading it and working in the department. As for the specific question about the structure of the organization, you know, sometimes it's one of those things. Look, it's the way it's been done in this town for 100 years. It seems to work. If we're one of only two, well, there it is. We're one of only two. But I do think the biggest thing is that the Board of Selectmen, as light commissioners, must always be ready to exert leadership. If rate increases are required, they have to vote to enact them. If they're not required, well, that's fine too. But I think the advantages far outweigh whatever disadvantages people can enumerate. I'm happy to be a light commissioner and a selectman, and I'm happy to be affiliated with a very good light department here in town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, here's a question. If elected or re-elected, do you pledge not to amend the override number of $5.95 million? So instead of necessarily asking for a pledge, do you think that the override amount should be amended? Helen and Thomas and Tom and David, in that order, please.
I got the hard one first. But at any rate, I do think that the numbers should be amended. I'm all for the schools. I'm a certified school teacher myself. My husband and I, all three of our kids went through Norwood schools, and I'm for Norwood schools. And I'm for rebuilding the junior high school, the middle school. It has to be rebuilt. But I think that the $5,950,000 amount is too high. We don't need the money for general government. It would be a tax that would be imposed on the taxpayers forever. Yes, the money is out there. No, we don't have to use it every year. But if you have all that money, wouldn't you spend it if you could? And we don't want to force people out of their homes. We want everyone to be able to stay in their homes. Young people, old people. We don't want people to not be able to pay their rent. I don't want to go over the time limit again, but I think the number should be made smaller.
Thank you. Tom, you're next on this one.
Thank you, Debbie. The Budget Balancing Committee studied this matter for 8 months beginning last summer. We've gone over it. We've looked at the school budget particularly. This override thing is about an investment in the school system. That's what it's about, okay? We wouldn't be having this conversation if the biggest problem in the town were snow and ice deficiencies. So after 8 months of deliberation, I actually voted in favor of a smaller number on that committee, but I think the committee had to come forward with a solid, unified recommendation. It did at $5.95 billion. I accept the justification for it in 4 separate categories. We voted for it on the Board of Selectmen. We voted 4-0 in favor of that number and in favor of putting it on the ballot. It's 11 weeks from today. 5.95 is the number. Let's have the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. David?
Yes, I attended every single BBC meeting except for the one that they had last week when I was away. At this point, I believe that's the number, 5.95. To try to take it down through whatever means are available, I think just confuses the issue with not really a lot of time left to try to see how we're going to do that. What I would promise that I would do is that I would work on other revenue-generating ideas, and I have thrown out some on social media to try to get discussion going. And by doing that, if we can get some of these additional revenues, we will be allowed then to not have to use the full tax levy, which is essentially the same thing. Because what people vote when they vote for the raise in 2.5, they're just voting for the tax levy. They're not actually voting for the budget to spend it. That's up to your town meeting representatives. They don't have to spend it. And so the more revenue we can generate through development or other means we don't have to raise it to the full levy of taxes. So that's the route that I would go.
Thank you. As a follow-up to that question, there's another question about the 2.5 operational override. What do you see as the effects on services and residents of Norwood in the next 5 years if the override doesn't pass? Tom, then David, and then Helen.
Well, I repeat what I said a couple of minutes ago. The biggest impact will be on the Norwood school system, and I think we have to decide what kind of a school system we want to have in the town. You know, you've got to kind of divorce the needs of a school system, I think, from the people on a school committee or in the administration. You can always change school committees and they can change administration. But I think they have thus far made a compelling case for the needs and the deficiencies of certain programs that they used to have in the school system that we don't have anymore. They'd like to restore those, and certain new programs would like to put back in. As a taxpayer, of course, in this matter, I do expect outcomes as well. It's not just a matter of spending the money, it's achieving results. And I do think, and I think this will happen, I think you'll see a school system that has rising test scores to show for the effort and the money. I think you'll see more AP courses and perhaps some gifted and talented. Again, this is up to the people on the school committee side of the administration, but I do think whatever metrics we put out there, specifically in the case of schools, I think they will meet it. I'm confident that they will. On the general government side, it's a different dynamic. It's more a matter of keeping going with what you already have on the general government side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and David.
Well, the way I look at it is we're one town, so I don't want to pit the schools versus the town, even though we know, excuse me, that's where the money would go, is most of it should be the schools. However, as one town, we're all going to either succeed or not succeed. And I want us to succeed by having this additional revenue to make improvements that the schools believe they need to make up for past cuts and for cuts to avoid going forward. If the schools succeed, we all as a town succeed. Our property values remain well. People want to come into town because our schools are well. General government's not having issues, but they're not going to be the drivers of whether we're going up or going down. It's going to be the schools, because they're the recipient of the bulk of this money going forward. So if they don't get it, I think we're going to suffer as a town. And to quote our general manager, you know, do we want to be heading towards the road of Brockton? No disrespect, but you can see they have a lot more issues than we do. Or do we want to be heading towards a town like Needham, a little bit more upscale? I think we all know there's a tough decision, but we have to make it.
Thank you very much. Helen, the same question, please.
Madam Moderator, would you please be kind enough to repeat the question?
Yes. What do you see as the effects will be on services and the residents of Norwood in the next 5 years if the override doesn't pass?
Thank you. We, around 1989, there was a terrible depression that we all went through. The town of Norwood did not lose one employee. The town of Norwood gave pay raises to employees throughout that whole depression, all those years. Other towns were laying off police, firemen, teachers. The town of Norwood laid nobody off. We increased enrollment. The schools will figure a way to help the schools. Some wonderful ideas have been created, even if necessary fees, creating an entity like the Circle of Hope, but all the towns supporting the families that have to pay fees for after-school services. It's a great idea. My cousin's kids go to school in Milton. They have, on the elementary school level, they have a dance at the school. They raise thousands in raffles. They raise thousands of dollars to help pay for things that are needed at the schools. Norwood has never given up. Norwood has always found a way.
Thank you. This is the last question for tonight. David, in the following order: David, Helen, and then Tom. How would you advocate for proactive, future-oriented planning, and what kind of efficiencies do you think can be established to help with the general government as a whole?
Okay, so it's a two-part question.
Two-part question.
Sure.
But you only have a minute, so pick one.
Well, one is, I think we've touched on earlier, the working with the planning board on zoning issues that would make it palatable for developers to come in and say, are there things that we can do to entice developers to come in to build what we believe is the right development for this town, not just what they want to build, but together what we can do. The second, as far as efficiencies, again, we've talked about one, which is town facilities. The combination can save us in the long term some significant dollars, which I believe we should do. And so I think also that Tony Mizuko's plan about how he's going to consolidate different departments into town by making them work together will help streamline when people come in to do something. They don't have to go from one building to this building to that building. And I think if they start working closer together, they can even talk about some regulation and application issues that might speed up the process.
Thank you very much. Helen?
Thank you. It's already in the works. Like you heard earlier tonight about the plan for consolidating the care of the buildings. That's a step toward the future. We in the town government have already started initiating a new computer plan. It's going to help with all of the bill paying and all the governmental activities. It's costing over $1 million. And it's in the works, and the updates, everything's already started. And we don't just sit around, we try and keep going. It's not a new thing to try and do better and consolidate.
Thank you very much. And Tom, please.
Thank you, Debbie. In the next week or two, on the Board of Selectmen, we'll be meeting with a representative from a green communities organization who will be coming in to talk a little bit about how we can green up here in Norwood. I'm in favor of being as green as we have to be, frankly, and so that'll be good. Well, we're looking at a solar field up at the landfill. So these are just some of the small things we do to try to be, as you say, proactive or progressive in these matters. We are looking at a couple of big things in the town, too. A new junior high school. We've been accepted into the SBA program for a new junior high, and in doing that, we ought to thereafter look at the possibility of consolidating our neighborhood schools and deciding what to do with the assets that are left behind. And then, as my colleagues mentioned, in the area of facilities consolidation, IT consolidation, human resources consolidation, I think we can achieve greater efficiencies to make ourselves a more modern, more public sector, but imitating private sector efficiencies in these areas will save us money and get these important tasks accomplished more speedily and more efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, our closing statements. You have 2 minutes for a closing statement in reverse order. David, Tom, and then Helen.
Okay. Thank you, and I again want to thank the League of Women Voters for holding tonight's forum. I would also like to offer my congratulations to Tom and Helen for also stepping up to be on the Board of Selectmen. I also hope you have carefully listened to and or will read answers by all of us to questions posed by the League of Women Voters and guests here tonight. There certainly has been some different ideas that candidates think we need to focus on and how we will get things accomplished. The voters of Norwood have an opportunity to select 2 candidates to do just that. My comprehensive background and successful leadership in business, town government, and the community provide the necessary skills to jump right into any and every issue. I offer some change that will benefit the entire community and will deliver. I resigned my Finance Commission seat as I did not want to be the cause of the town having to hold a $25,000 special election in order to fill my Finance Commission seat if I win, but also because I'm willing to put my record, ideas, and accomplishments on the line in the belief that you think I am worthy to be a Board of Selectmen member. My pledge of engaged leadership, future planning, openness, and transparency are not just slogans, but commitments to conduct business in a different manner. This election should be about which candidate have laid out sound and reasonable ideas to move Norwood forward. I have the background to serve the entire community and have a proven record of accomplishment. Make no mistake, the town faces some challenging issues, both short-term and long-term, which need to be worked on by individuals that can stay focused on these issues. My positive message of engaged leadership, future planning, openness, and transparency are just the beginning of a process to move Norwood forward. I will work for all of you. I will not rely on just one person to provide information they want discussed. We need to hear all sides of an issue so that the best decision is made as a team. I promise to be more proactive on the issues facing Norwood as I have done in my previous positions. The role of a creative leader is not to have all the ideas, it's to create a culture where everyone can have ideas and feel they are valued. I ask for your vote April 1st. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tom, please.
You know, it occurs to me as we're sitting here that 35 months from now, the town of Norwood is going to celebrate its 150th birthday. And ideas are being bruited about even now for some of the things we might want to do to make that party the biggest of its kind in memory. And I think we'll succeed in doing that. We're talking about things like starting it out on the 4th of July parade in 2021, talking about First Night on New Year's Eve here in Norwood. I've already communicated with Susan Lewis, owner of Norwood Theater, who is enthusiastic about getting involved in First Night 2021 into 22, a gala, perhaps one of the larger facility halls in the town. I bring all this up because I think, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be a blast. And I think the reason for that is that Norwood is what a lot of people in all these other towns claim they want to be in their towns. It is diverse. It is vibrant. It's all kinds of people who look different ways, act different ways, together, doing the civic thing, living their lives, enjoying the town and all that it has to offer, and in turn contributing to the civic life for everybody else. I think that 150th is going to be a great party, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope to be involved. Finally, the last point I add is this. On the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Selectmen is the executive board of your $200 million corporation. That's what Norwood is. It's a $200 million corporation. When you go to the polls on April 1st, please ask yourself this question. Who do you want sitting on the executive board of your $200 million corporation? I thank you for the time. I thank the League. Debbie, thanks to you. Thanks to David and Helen. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to speaking with all of you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Helen, you've got 2 minutes to close.
Thank you. Sorry I didn't pay better attention to the time on my opening statement. Sorry about that. I have a lot of things to say. First of all, I'm not in favor of selling any town properties to try and raise money for the town. There have been ideas brought up about selling this or selling that. I was against selling the property on Everett Street, mistake. And I don't, other than Upland Road project, I don't want to sell the VFW. I don't want to sell the water Buckmaster Pond. I'm sorry I'm not better on the computer. I'm really good at email, but I don't know about all those other things, but that's okay too. Mr. Maloney, who I care for a great deal, brought it up about the 150th anniversary. For over a year now, more than a year, I've asked him about starting a committee so everybody in town could know about it, so the whole town could be a part of the planning. We want a whole town committee, not just a few people. For the 125th, we had a whole town. For the 100th, we had a whole town. There are 52% of the people that live in this town are women. In the history of the town, we've only had 4 women selectmen. 52% of your population now are women. And I think that it's fair that there be a woman on the board too. Someone said, oh, what's the difference between a man's point of view or a woman's point of view? When Norwood basketball was started many years ago by Tim McCann and Mr. Kevin McDonough and Mr. Cioletta, a lot of wonderful people, they asked me to be on the board. I said, I don't know that much about basketball. They said, yes, but we want a woman's point of view. And I would ask, the election is 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today. So if you can, will you please get out and vote? Please give me a chance to stay on the board. I can and I try my best.
Thank you very much.
Just briefly to thank everyone this evening. As I sat here listening, the diversity of both professional and personal life experience among the candidates who got up here tonight and are running for public office in your town is truly inspiring, and that's what I think local elections and public elections are all about. It's your friends and your neighbors putting themselves forward to make this town a better place to live in. So please thank them for their willingness to serve you by voting on April 1st. Thank you to Norwood Community Media for their live broadcast tonight and for future replays of this event between now and the election day. Thank you to the staff of Town Hall, as always, for your very generous use of our traditional space for this forum. We love being in this room. It lends a little gravitas to an already serious event. And thank you again to all of the League members who worked so hard to organize this evening. Please remember to vote on April 1st for the candidates that you heard speaking tonight. And then again, we have another election on June 3rd for the operational override ballot. Thank you, everyone, and have a pleasant evening.